Okay, I want to help you with a few things about this chart that might make it easier for the rest of the time that we're doing this. So we're going to, now that we've listened to Freedom is Possible, I'm going to talk about this chart. So first of all, in order to kind of put a note in it, I'm going to add a little shape up here and see if I can add some text. Okay, so when we talk about activist, an activist may not be a specific person. You know, we know like Martin Luther King was a big activist in the civil rights movement. But when we're doing this book, it could be a whole group of people in this context. So the activist may not be a specific person in this context. It could be the actions of an activist, activist group. Forgive me with my typing. It's hard to type on this keyboard and be so far away from what I'm seeing too, so it's a little difficult. But I want you to think, if you're giving evidence about a person, I want you to give their name, okay? So this is just something to be considerate of in regarding to the activist, okay? So we're going to draw an arrow from there to there, and I want to go in and highlight this because these are the two groups we're doing right now. Okay, now I don't want any highlight here. So now that we've got that situated, I want you to think about, what does this person say? The thing that struck me was what Moses Wright said. So in this area, as much as possible, we want to have a quote. Okay, so Moses Wright, and I don't really know how he would have said this, but there he said, the old man, pointing at the attackers. That really stands out to me in the text because it shows some strength. So I'm going to put his name right here. Now, once I turn this into actual text evidence, like if you write this in an essay or something for English, you would want to use the text stated. You would want to use according to the text on page 5, Moses Wright said, there he, see what I'm saying? But we're just filling this chart in to get some information. And notice I'm writing right in the chart. You can do that on your Word document that I've sent you, okay? So how does this person behave? Well, according to page 5 in the text, it says, for perhaps the first time ever, a black man in Mississippi, and that strikes at home, does it not? In Mississippi, had stood up to white men in a court of law. And that's found also on page 5. So we're just going to put that there. That's not said by anybody specifically like this is. That's a quote from the text. Okay, so how does this person behave? Well, he stood up in court and made his statement. So are their actions aligned with their stated position? Well, the text states, for years, black Southerners didn't question why they were treated as second-class citizens. For years they've done that. It says that on page 6. Okay, now let's fix that problem. On page 6. Now, there's my quote from the text, but I want to include my thinking on that, okay? So, however, Moses went against the norm, right? And stood up against an injustice. You know, there have been injustices that have been going on for a while in this country. It took a lot for him to do this. His behavior was new for his people. and was one of the starting points, not necessarily the starting point, but one of the starting points towards a period of activism against civil rights violations against Black Americans. Now, there's probably a better way to word that. This is just my thinking right now, and so this is where I'm like organizing my thoughts towards what makes a hero. So if I were to turn this into an essay, I'm not necessarily going to type this directly into it, but I have my thought processes here, okay? Or processes, however you want to say it. These right here, I'm going to copy this and pull it down, and you'll see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pull it down to remind you of something here. And I got to go into this page. Okay, right here. And I'm going to change my words here. This area, do not answer these questions until the end of chapter 5. Because when you're thinking about the whole totality of the text evidence we did from the activism section, and then are they a hero? Why or why not? Because I want you to view the activist as an entire group of people that were on this side of the argument, okay? Not necessarily one person. Now, you could narrow this down to a whole essay about one person, say, but I want you to build evidence in general of the activist on this side, okay? So we're going to hold our thinking on that till you actually get all 5 chapters filled in. So right now, we're going to go back, and I want to teach you something in Word that you may or may not know. I went through and I fixed some spelling problems. I didn't fix this one. I wanted to show you. You see how that's underlined in red? That means that's a mistake. So I'm going to right-click on it, and there I go, Black Americans, and see how it fixed it? Okay, so this is how you fill in the first part of the chart. Listen to chapter 2 and chapter 3 and do the same thing. You could pull tons of different types of evidence. What do you think is the strongest evidence to answer these 3 questions? And go ahead and fill out your chart. You can handwrite it in the chart, or you can type it just like I did. Handwriting it gets the squares are a little small, and you might have to use the backside of your paper to fix it. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Have fun.